missing someone. With all your
Hello, welcome back. It's Andrea Manukian, and today we're going to continue on with the last 5 chapter summaries of Fault in Our Stars. So just your last recap here, this is a school assignment. It is a 5-video series, and each video is 10 minutes long and has most of the video about summarizing it, and then for however long I have left until it reaches 10 minutes, I just give my opinion and my side on it. And we've done 1 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 15, and I uploaded 16 to 20 recently, and now we are on the last summary. These are the last 5 chapters 21 to 25. So we're basically almost done with the book. I say prepare the tissues, prepare the sadness, and prepare laughter. I don't know, I'm not trying to throw anyone off here, but this is going to be like up and down, like happy, sad, angry, disgusting, like literally it'll reach every corner. So let's get started. So just a little background, like a quick one. She made an agreement with her parents so that she can go somewhere, and if they let her, then she would stay home instead of going to Gus's and Augustus's house to stay overnight with them. And they're like, okay, if you stay here during like the nights, if you come and sleep at this house, then we'll let you go today. And she's like, okay. And they made that agreement, and after 8 days of doing that, Hazel gets a call in the middle of the night to tell her that Augustus has passed away. Hazel jumps out of her bed and tells her parents and Isaac the news, and then falls into a deep state of mind and pain. She describes it by saying every second was worse than the last. You can find this all happening on page 262. It was not easy trying to cope with the loss of someone who's changed your life so much in such a positive way. Hazel starts comparing the pain on a scale to anything else she had experienced throughout her 3 years with cancer. Hazel calls this the 10 that she had been saving. She calls Augustus and gets his voicemail. She looks at his Facebook, once again appalled by the misguided and self-centered posts she finds. She comments something on one of his posts and doesn't get a response. Now it was the day where they're supposed to go to the funeral, and Hazel doesn't want to go with anyone else that knows him. She wants to go there alone. And during the open casket, she kisses him on the cheek and tells him that she loves him. And she gets a cigarette and puts it in his jacket and tucks it into his suit. While the pastor was giving some words, in the background, they hear, what a load of horse crap, huh, kid? On page 271. And Hazel gets confused and turns around to find the author, Peter Van Houten. Hazel decided that she doesn't want to go to the cemetery, pleading with her parents that she is tired, but they make her go. Afterward, the author asks Hazel's family for a ride back to his rental car. He tries to speak to Hazel again with a nicer and happier attitude, but she shuts him down, accepting a sip of his whiskey and then asking him to leave the car. She has had a quiet evening, eating a bit to relax herself and her parents, and then sleeping for a long time. Later, Hazel's father comes into the bathroom to talk to her, and they talk about life and love he makes while making her feel a bit better. So a few days later, Hazel gets into her car to drive to Augustus's house and look for the sequel, only to find Peter Van Houten, the author, creepily waiting in the back seat of her car. He apologizes for scaring her, waxing poetic about a child saint, and finally breaking down in tears about ruining their trip. His excuse was that they were too young. Hazel then realizes that the author had someone who died from his family. So she builds up the courage to ask him if he had a child, and he admits that he did. He had a young daughter who died of leukemia, just like Anna in the book. That's why he wrote it. He'd been separated from her mother, but spent time with her trying out experimental therapies the end, eventually having to explain to her that she was going to die. When she did, he promised her that he would meet her soon in heaven. He says that was 22 years ago. Hazel tells him to go home, sober up, and write. He agrees, but when she leaves him on the curb on the side of the road, she sees him contemplate his bottle and then take a sip. So Hazel finally gets to Augustus's house and talks to his parents a while, letting them feed him. His sisters and their family are still around, providing noise in what would otherwise perhaps be too quiet of a house. His parents allow her to go down to his room, though they haven't been able to go down themselves yet. Hazel looks through the documents on his computer, searches for a journal in his room, and riffles through his copies of An Imperial Affliction and Infinite Mayhem, yet another sequel to The Price of Dawn, which is one of the books he really likes. Not finding anything, she lays down in his bed, soaking in his smell. Finally, she goes back upstairs where his parents apologize, but say that he probably wouldn't have had the time or energy to write anything secretly. 3 days later, Gus's father calls to say that they did find a journal, though there's nothing written in it. A few pages are ripped out of the front. Hazel decides to check in the room where a support group is held and picks up Isaac early so that they can search the room. So Hazel and Isaac go so that they can search the room, but they find nothing. After a disappointed day, Hazel goes home and she immediately gets bombarded and embroiled in a fight with her mom about eating that night. Then fast forward to a few days later, Hazel goes to a park near the grave that he was buried in and goes near his grave to find, in the book it says Augustus may have sent the pages from the front of his notebook to Peter Van Houten. Hazel gets off the phone quickly and emails Lidwidge. She gets a response from him that afternoon saying she hasn't been back since quitting on the day of the awful meeting, but that she will go look through Van Houten's mail. Hazel refreshes her email all night, thinking of her time with Augustus, until her mother comes and announces that it's a very special holiday, Bastille Day. Hazel and her parents go to the park to celebrate, and after watching children play for a while, Hazel consents to go see Gus's grave. Hazel does not feel much being there, but puts a little French flag in the earth mounded there. At home, Hazel finds an email from her with 4 attachments, saying that Van Houten was very drunk when she arrived, but she found Gus's letter and made him read it. Van Houten instructed her to send it to Hazel without any additions. The letter was written in a large slanting hand, but are undeniably the familiar voice of Augustus. Gus had written to Van Houten to ask him to write a eulogy for Hazel based on things Gus thinks, but feels he is not a good enough writer to arrange well. He acknowledges that it is a silly and animal-like to have wanted to mark anything as his before he died. He calls Hazel a real hero for paying attention to the world and describes the time she was in the ICU and was assured by the nurse that he hadn't seen her, revealing that he actually had. He ends by calling her beautiful and nothing once more, that you don't get to choose if you hurt in this world, old man, but you do have some say in who hurts you. I like my choices. I hope she likes hers. Page 313. Hazel finishes off the story by directing a final comment to Augustus, telling him that she does like hers. And the end. That's it. I really like this story for what it was, the message was trying to send you, that, these are what people will do for love. He gave up his genie wish for her, even though he could have spent it to go anywhere that he would have wanted. I don't know, it's just, I find it really heartwarming that he would do that for her, and he risked so much. And I don't know, I just find everything about this story so sentimental.